This is a video that will not have a proper script, as it's something I've been thinking about for a long time. Over the years, numerous channels have emerged on YouTube that I've been watching. And while they have been informative, I recently grew tired of watching many of them. They give the most nuanced, elegant, and honestly impressive way of explaining society's ills. But they never really do anything about them, despite their following and influence. Even before reading any theory, I wanted to build housing since I was younger, around 13 or 14 years old. It just seemed like common sense to me. Housing is too expensive and scarce. Just build more community-based housing, not profit-driven ones. That is actually one of the main reasons why I worked my ass off to save so much money and sacrifice the majority of my time to be able to address material conditions, although I did not know the term at the time. It's just so interesting to me that these streamers and content creators who claim to be MLs, leftists, or materialists in the Marxian sense don't do anything about addressing those material conditions, even though they are in a position to do so. It turns out, you could be the most educated on materialism and dialectics and not make the connection of actually building a team to address material conditions. Imagine if the Black Panther Party protested constantly and didn't do their free breakfast for children programs, their building of free health clinics, schools, and housing. I don't think the Panthers would have been assassinated by the CIA because they pose no threat to the status quo. They also probably would have been co-opted by the Democratic Party and used for a liberal agenda, like another group. Of course, that doesn't mean the consumption of theory and knowledge on YouTube is useless. As Lenin said, without revolutionary theory, there can be no revolutionary movement, just as there is no revolutionary movement without revolutionary theory. It's a dialectical relationship. Educational content, regardless of whether it's on YouTube or another platform, should of course be well researched, based on historical realities, and revolutionary, but at the same time, it needs to give people a direction for exactly what needs to be accomplished. Look at all of these YouTube channels. They have no mission statement, no end goal, just professional yapping. Donate to me, my Patreon, I'm poor. I spend a lot of time making these videos, like, who cares? Sometimes it's crazy the amount of donations these guys get. Don't get me wrong, learning about various topics has definitely made me more appreciative of theory and intellectuals. Watching channels like One Dime, Second Thought, Bad and Banana, Overzealots, and so on, and reading the dozens of books they have recommended has certainly changed me for the better. But at the end of the day, what are they really doing? At least they haven't made it clear. Many of these groups have raised millions of dollars for certain causes. But let's be honest, what has that changed? So what should the purpose of a channel be? Culture wars? Complaining? Virtue signaling? Showing off your intellect? Summarizing books that people are too lazy to read? Yes and no. If you're a self-proclaimed communist, materialist, or leftist, and you cannot make the connection between theory and praxis, you are the problem. You are drowning your audience in endless consumption while not doing jack. It's a bit tiring to constantly hear that it's too expensive to do something, or that it's too hard. I've grown a bit tired of the excuses. You guys are the ones who have been telling your audience how serious these situations are, and you're usually right. You're also the ones criticizing everybody else for doing nothing, but when I look at you, you are the same. So many so-called leftist YouTubers spend hundreds if not thousands on traveling, their own hobbies, new studio equipment, and dare I say, millions on bullshit like a $3 million house. They then talk about how unaffordable housing is, how oppressive Western imperialism is, and how fascism is rising. And the best they claim to be able to do is donate money to Gaza, or other awareness groups. Now, I'm not saying that these people don't donate money, or that these organizations aren't important. What I'm asking is that really effective for long-term change in the long run? If we know that we need people to accomplish anything, but everyone's sucked up in this capitalist world worrying about food and housing, and is spending the majority of their time at a useless job, how are we going to do anything? Imagine this for a second. Imagine if I had as much money as some of these YouTubers do, and I made some partnerships, made some deals. I built cooperative housing and food pantries. I built cooperative healthcare facilities. Now I have hundreds, perhaps thousands of people who don't have to spend 90% of their time working just to survive. And these people can be more active in doing revolutionary activity. They can help build movements, spread the word, raise more money, and on and on. This just seems like common sense to me. How did the Black Panthers see this? The 10-point program by the Black Panther Party was a plan to work within the imperialist system. But more importantly, their goals outside of the 10-point program were the goal of dismantling the system. But they knew that before you can do that, you have to feed and educate your people, before any revolution can happen. If you're just talking about theory without addressing material conditions, everything will end in the ideal. On the same coin, if you're only addressing material conditions without theory, people will get comfortable in the life they will be granted. With that being said, I really wonder how much these YouTubers could do with their followers. This is not in any way a condemnation of these people. It is a serious challenge and an offer to them. Imagine if they all came together. The financials and operations would probably be crazy. I guarantee you, if these guys came together and not just a collaboration on a video, it would be a combined pot of millions of people and millions of dollars. Imagine what could be done with that many people and that little money. Or a lot of money, who knows how much we could have collectively. It's crazy to me how these self-proclaimed communists aren't working together to create a new 10-point program and implementing it. Crazy how with all the knowledge and resources they have, they can't work together to make a change. Maybe they are, who knows, but I don't see it. They are always asking for money, but what is it for? What am I donating money to you for? To keep yapping? Yapping about the same for years while they do nothing? Why do people even donate money to these people? They don't do jack. I'm pretty sure Hakeem knows the 10-point program. I'm pretty sure Second Thought knows the 10-point program. Bad Empanada, Yugopnik, and on and on. I'm pretty sure all these so-called commies know it. I also don't think their viewers are so poor to the point where they cannot donate $1. Imagine how much they could raise if each of their subscribers raised $1 for the 10-point program. Personally, I've never donated money because I don't know where my money is going. I also want to see it and be involved, rather than just throwing money away. I think most people don't donate for these reasons unconsciously. The point of this video is to say, if the Black Panthers can do it, there's no reason why these guys can't do it. I cannot possibly believe that the Black Panthers, who had significantly fewer resources, people, and opportunities than us, were able to do so much more in so little time. They could do everything that the Black Panthers did, but they don't. And it's not because of money. I don't think it's because of money. And it's not because of the lack of organizational skills. I think it's simply because there is not enough will to do so. Dare I say, they do not care enough. So do better. Make an action plan for your channel, or pressure your creators to make an action plan. Get your audience involved, address material conditions, and work with your community instead of constantly asking for money for yourself. The 10-point program is a set of guidelines to the Black Panther Party that states their ideals and ways of operation. The 10-point program comprised of 2 sections. The first, titled What We Want Now, described what the Black Panther Party wants from the leaders of American society. The second section, titled What We Believe, outlines the philosophical views of the party and the rights that African Americans should have, but are denied. It is structurally similar to the United States Bill of Rights and the US Constitution. This is a 10-point program I created with my team. It's not perfect, and it's subject to change by my team as well as the community. Point 1. On education and media. We want an education that exposes our true social and economic condition. We believe that the prevailing anti-intellectualism is a manufactured consent, engineered by corporate media and a failed education system to keep people divided and powerless. We will create media and educational programs that give voice to the exploited and arm our communities with the historical, political, and economic knowledge needed to understand their conditions and fight for their liberation. We will also raise funds and awareness for important political, social, cultural, and economic issues. Point 2. On housing. We want genuinely affordable, community-controlled housing. Housing is a fundamental human right, not a commodity for speculation. We will organize to acquire land and property, remove it from the speculative market, and develop tenant-owned and managed cooperative housing. We reject state-sponsored solutions that reinforce private property and debt. Point 3. On health. We want free, preventative healthcare and community wellness. We believe that a person's health should not be dictated by their wealth. The for-profit medical industrial complex is a moral failure. We will establish community-owned health clinics and wellness centers, staffed by professionals and accountable to the community, focusing on holistic and preventative care rather than profit-driven treatment. Point 4. We want an end to food deserts and community control over our food supply. We believe access to healthy food is a non-negotiable right. We will create cooperative grocery stores, community gardens, and food distribution networks to provide nutritious food for all, independent of exploitative corporate supply chains. Our goal is not charity, but food sovereignty. Point 5. On labor and economic power. We want full employment and control over our own labor. We believe that every person has a right to meaningful work or a dignified income. We will foster the creation of worker-owned cooperatives across all sectors. We assert that the wealth of our communities should be controlled by those who create it, not by absentee capitalists and shareholders. Point 6. Education for our children. We want an education system that teaches self-respect, critical thought, and revolutionary history. We believe the public education system is designed to produce compliant workers, not liberated citizens. We will build alternative educational institutions, from after-school programs to independent schools, owned and operated by teachers, parents, and students, with a curriculum that reflects our true history and empowers the next generation to continue the struggle. Point 7. on community defense. We want an immediate end to police brutality and the power to defend our own communities. We believe the police are not a neutral force for justice, but an occupying army in our communities, protecting property over people. We believe in building community-based self-defense and conflict resolution systems that make police obsolete. We uphold the right of organized and disciplined communities to be armed against the state and fascist violence. Point 8. On the justice system. We want freedom for all political prisoners and an end to mass incarceration. We believe U.S. jails and prisons are disproportionately filled with the poor and racialized, many of whom are political prisoners of war on the working class. We demand their freedom and the radical restructuring of the prison industrial complex, which profits from human misery. Point 9. On internationalism. We want an end to imperialist wars and colonial exploitation. We believe our struggle is inseparable from the global struggle against imperialism. We will build active solidarity with liberation movements worldwide, recognizing that the system oppressing us at home is the same system plundering the global south. We reject national chauvinism and stand for the unity of the world's exploited peoples. Point number 10, on power. We want land, bread, housing, education, clothing, justice, peace, and people's community control of modern technology. We believe ultimately all political power comes from the ability to meet the material needs of the people. Our final objective is to build a society where the institutions of power are directly controlled by the community to serve human well-being, not the accumulation of capital. The only thing left now is to gather the resources necessary, the talent necessary, and the time necessary to implement these. Everyone has a role to play and a way to contribute. I'm already in the process of doing some of these things, but it is very difficult to do this on my own. I know I will still receive some criticism from some and so-called Marxist-Leninists who will say, "What are you doing? You haven't done anything." Apparently, collective power is dismissed as soon as criticism is given. The fact is that the only reason these individuals don't do anything is that they do not want to take responsibility for their beliefs. They are in a sense keyboard warriors typing on their crusty Dorito dried semen couch, complaining about the world while being the very thing that is making it worse. Does that mean you need to donate money to me? No. Does that mean that you have to stop watching all those people that you like on YouTube or other platforms? No. What it does mean is that you need to hassle these people as much as possible to stop living in the YouTube world and start doing what the Panthers did. Ask these YouTubers about their goals, the purpose of the channel, how they can address material conditions, how they can organize and act, and not sit behind a screen and complain. Here's the challenge for these guys. Collab in person. I know you guys have done it before. I know you all know each other in some way, shape, or form. Don't just do it behind pixels. Don't just clout chase with other big YouTubers. Start a project on the ground. It also means to start seeing action as theory and theory as action. If you want to learn more about the Black Panthers, read Seize the Time by Huey Newton and Bobby Seale and Jackson Rising. Do not get caught up in the consumption of media, as these content creators have done. Do not allow politics to become a spectator sport. Push for action, push for change.